Hello, my name is Emily. Welcome to my channel. Today I am doing my September TBR, and this month there's a couple of readathons going on that I'm really interested in, and the first one is the Magical Readathon hosted by G over at Book Roast, and the second one is Becca's Bookoplathon run by Becca and the Books. So I'm really excited to participate in both of their readathons. I'm going to try to have a book for each prompt. Depending on how many there are, I might double up later on in the month, but as of right now, my TBR, I'm just going to name all the books that I would like to read, and at the end, I will move things around if I need to. So let's start with Becca's Bookoplathon, and I will switch right into that now. Okay, this is my Becca's Bookoplathon board. I've got my community shelf cards, my chance cards, my dice, my page flag, that's going to be my little play piece, and then I want to do 5 rolls. If I get a double, then I'll add one. Okay, so first roll. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's a buzzword one, and it's got like the people names, like girl, boy, people, person, son, daughter. So that is roll number 1. Okay, so our first roll was 5, and it was a buzzword prompt. It had like the people, like king, queen, stuff. And for that, I chose Daughter of the Salt King by A.S. Thornton. This book sounds really interesting. It has one of my buzzwords, which is like the gin and deserty kind of stuff. I love that. Some of my favorite like tropes, I guess. So I'm just gonna read the tagline for this. A girl of the desert and a Jinni born long ago by the sea, both enslaved to the Salt King, but with this capricious magic, only one can be set free. I am super excited for this book, and I can't wait to read it. On to the next roll. Okay, roll number 2. And it's a double. I will be adding one. Okay, so 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. New! Okay, so the second roll brought us a double. So we had 2 4s, so I moved 8, and I landed on new. This is kind of like, I think, a new book that like recently came out and you heard a lot of buzz, but like you haven't heard anything as much recently. And for that, I'm gonna go for Mexican Gothic by Silvia, Moreno, Garcia. And this is a horror novel. All I know is it's about a girl. She receives a letter from her cousin, I think, and it's kind of like raises some alarm, so she goes and tries to figure out what's going on. That's all I really know about it. That's all I want to know about it. So that is my next read. Okay, roll number 3 is a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Myth, lore, legend, fairy tale. Okay, so roll number 3 brought us a 5, and we landed on myth, lore, legend, or fairy tale. And for this, it worked out perfectly because I want to reread a series, and that series is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I'm not going to go into what this is about. This is a very hyped book. If you haven't heard of it, you've been living under a rock. I love this series. I have not read the novella or A Court of Silver Flames, so I'm rereading this so that I can get to that. So that will be fulfilling the myth, lore, legend, fairy tale prompt. Okay, roll number 4, I think. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opulent. So roll number 4 brought us a 5, and I landed on opulent. It's just like kind of like could take place at a castle or somewhere like opulent. So for that, I've decided A Court of Mist and Furies by Sarah J. Maas. Again, not going into it, but I would like to reread this whole series this month, so I'm going to fit it in wherever I can. Okay, roll number 5, I think. 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. LGBT rep. Okay, so our fifth prompt, we got 11, and I landed on the LGBTQ plus rep space, and for that I'm going to read Black Sun by Rebecca Rohnhorse. I have heard lots of good things about this series from the people that I've seen read it, and all I know is that it's the first book in a trilogy, and the little tagline says, "A god will return when the earth and sky converge under the black sun." I don't really know too much about this book. I just know that I'm really interested and I've heard good things about it. Okay, and then our hopefully last and final roll, 3. 1, 2, 3. Big book. Okay, and thankfully our final roll, I got a 3, and unfortunately I landed on a big book, but you know what, we made it work because I will be reading A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 3rd book in this series, and this is over 600 pages, and so big book. Okay, so we made it through Becca's Bookoplathon. I only got 1 double, so that's good. But moving on to the magical readathon, I have decided to go with being an earthling, specifically a fire elemental, and I am also a wildling or wilding, and I live in Etheria. Maybe. Anyway, but that is what I am planning on having my character be. So we start at the novice path, and that is to read a book with a map. For this, I'd like to try to get through Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Again, I know it has to deal with like ingesting different metals, and if this is kind of like, I always hear people say, if the Dark Lord won, this is what would have happened. So I'm really excited about this. I read Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson in January, and I enjoyed his writing. It was very easy to get into, so I'm excited to get to this series because I hear nothing but good things about it. Okay, next on our stop is the Ashthorn Tree, and for that you read a book at the top of your TBR. And for that, I'm going to read Brave by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It's the 3rd book in the Wicked trilogy. I would really like to finish this out. I've really enjoyed this trilogy. I know it's an older one of hers, but I was falling into a reading slump and I just needed something quick and easy to read, and that was it. This follows Ivy. She hunts the Fae until one night something happens and a whole new realm of possibilities opens up, and then a newcomer, Ren, also shows up, and it just starts a whole chain reaction of things. And I'm really excited to finish out this trilogy, and I hope that this last book is really good. Okay, next would be The Mist of Solitude, read a standalone. And for this, I'm going to be reading The Invisible Life of Addie Larue by V.E. Schwab. I don't really know much about this other than a girl goes into the woods and makes a wish or something, or asks for something, and she ends up like living forever, but everyone she meets forgets her. And I've heard it's got a beautiful story and beautiful writing. I have the audiobook, so I'm really excited to get to this finally. So next we are at the Ruin of the Sky, and that is to read a book with like ghosts or supernatural elements, and this book I picked kind of has both. It's the 4th book in the Lockwood & Co. series, and it's called The Creeping Shadow by Jonathan Stroud. I first heard about this book through BookTube, and I was hooked from the 1st book. These are so good. I think they're classified as like middle grade horror. They can get a little rough, like gory wise and very detailed descriptions. So I don't know if you'd want to be reading these for like younger kids, maybe like older. Anyway, I love this series. It's about a group of kids who are at Lockwood and Co agency, and they hunt down supernatural things like ghosts and stuff, and they do it for money, and they're the only ones that in this world, like, children are the only ones that can really see these things. So once you grow up, you really can't anymore. It's just so much fun. I am not doing the synopsis any justice, but I am very excited to read this. Next, we stop at Obsidian Falls, and for that you read a thriller or mystery, and for that I'm going to read The End of Her by Sherry Lapina. I don't want to know anything about this. Her books are always like quick and easy to get through. They're not any like masterpieces of mystery thrillers, but they are entertaining. So I'm interested to see what this one will bring us. Next is Tower of Rumination, and for that, read a 5-star prediction. This, I will be reading, hopefully, Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. I loved her Red Queen series. It wasn't quite 5-star for me. There were just a few issues I had, but I still really enjoyed it, and I definitely think that this sounds like it would be more my thing. So, 5-star prediction. I hope I'm right. I really can't wait to get to this. Although I'm putting a lot of chunky books on here. This book is over 500 pages. So we'll see if I can get to this. Hopefully I can, but definitely hoping it's going to be a 5-star. Okay, our last stop on the map is the Aurelium Arc. And for that, read a book with a school setting. For that, I'm going to be reading Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I know it's set, I think, at Yale college setting. I heard a lot about this book, and some people loved it, some people didn't like it. I know it has a lot of trigger warnings, I believe. It's like dark academia, I guess. That's all I really want to know about it, honestly, because like all these books, I don't really want to go in with super high expectations, because then it has a chance of not meeting those expectations. So we'll see. So the next 3 prompts you don't have to do right away, but I'm going to try, just as long as they're done before April, so the next readathon, for the magical readathon. But my background is a wilding, and that is a book set outside or like in a forest. And for that, I thought I'd go with Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. And I know what you're thinking. You're never going to be able to finish all these big books this month. Well, I'm going to try. I love Robin Hobb. I read the first series with Fitz, and I couldn't believe how much I love this author's character development, and she just does really good characters. And I am trying to catch up with Becca and the books readathon she hosts, the Catch Up Book Club. They're doing Robin Hobb books, and I'm really behind. They just finished the 3rd series, or they're about to, and I'm just starting the 2nd series. So wish me luck. Hopefully I get to this. We'll see. I realize I'm not telling you a lot about some of these books, but some of these are just really popular, and some of them I really don't know, and I don't want to know. Not until I start reading them. Okay, so the province that my character is from is Etheria, I think. Anyway, and the prompt for this is a book featuring the Fae or elves. So for that, I'm going to be reading A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I have never read this, didn't hear very good things about it, but I love these characters, so she could write anything about them, and I will read it. So I'm really happy to finally be getting to this. Hopefully I can get through all these big, massive books, and can't wait to see what I think of this one. Okay, so the last one would be the Heritage one, which is an Earthling, and mine specifically fire, but for this it's like a book that has to have like deal with elemental magic either in the book or some form. Part of the title is some part of the title can have like an elemental word in it. And for this, I am going with A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Who's surprised? No one. I can't believe I'm doing this to myself. These big books. This one, over 700 pages. Wow. Like I said, I just want to reread the first 3 books so I can get to the novella and then this one. I've been waiting. I don't know why I've been holding off. I think I'm just worried. Not to mention, I don't know when the next one's gonna come out. But I do know that this one follows Nesta and Cassian, I believe. But I didn't really care for Nesta in the original trilogy, so I'm hoping that this book turns that around. Okay, so that is everything for the readathons that are on my like actual TBR. I have a few other books that if by some chance I get to them, then great. So I'd like to get to Vicious by V. Schwab. I'm on the 3rd book, Reaper at the Gates by Salba Tahir. I'm on the 3rd book, Beneath the Sugar Sky by Shauna McGuire. I need to get to the 2nd book, Between Frost and Fury by Chani Feener. I need to read The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. And I'd also like to read Night Film by Marisha Pessel. Will I get to all these books? Absolutely not. And that's okay. Like I said, at the end of the month, I will figure out what books can cover what prompts and maybe double up on some, but I'm really hoping I can get to all of them by some miracle. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.